Hello and good morning to everyone. So in this video we'll be solving weekly contest 501. So let's start with the question number 1, which is lead code 39225, that is concatenate array with reverse. So basically in this question we are given an integer array whose length is n. So what we have to do is we have to construct another array answer whose size should be the double of the initial size, and such that the first n elements should be the same that are present in the nums, and the next n elements should be the reverse of the nums array, right? So let's see the example to get the question more clearly. So if this is the nums array, then the answer array like first n elements should be the same, that is 1 2 3. Then the reverse of this array, reverse is 3 2 1. So we put this here, so we get 3 2 1. So this is our answer array, so this is the output. So let's see the constraints. So the array length is up to 100 only, and each element can be up to 100, right? So let's see the approach. What we'll do is, we'll iterate from index n minus 1 to index 0, and then what we'll do is we'll push the current element means the element at which we are present. Like suppose if we are at index i, then we put this element in the array, and then we get the original array attached with the reverse array. So suppose if we have 1 2 3, this is our nums array, and currently we are at 3, so we put 3 here, then we move to 2, then we put 2 here, then we move to 1, we put 1. So now see, this is our answer array. The first n elements are the original elements, and the next n elements are the reverse of the uh, first n elements. So this is our answer array. So this way we will do it. So let's see the code part. So we have taken the size of the array, and then we have iterated from n minus 1 to 0, and we are pushing the element at which we are present now, and at the end we return the original array, that is nums array, right? So this is a simple question. So let's move to the question number 2. So question number 2 is lead code 3926, which is count valid word occurrences. So basically in this question we are given an array of string named as chunks, and the strings are concatenated in order to form a single string s, right? So we are given different chunks, given different chunks, and then what we'll do is we'll concatenate all these chunks and make a single string s. We are also given an array of string queries, right? And it is given that a word is defined as a substring of s. Word is defined as a substring of this string s if it consists of lowercase English letters, right? That is from a to z. It can even include hyphens also, right? Suppose if a to b, this can also be a word if each hyphen is surrounded by lowercase English letters. So see, if this word a to b, so hyphen is there, so this hyphen is valid if on the both sides we have lowercase English letters. Suppose if we have aab, then this hyphen is not valid because on this side we have the lowercase English letter, but on the other side we do not have that. So this is not valid, even this hyphen is not valid, right? And is not part of a longer substring, that also satisfies the above condition, right? So any character that is not a lowercase English letter or a valid hyphen, so that will act as a separator. So in this case aab, these two are not valid hyphens, so they will be act as a separator. So here we have two different words, one word is a and the other word is b, like they will act like a space or a separator, means they are separating two different words. Now what we have to do is we have to return an integer array answer, where answer of I is basically the number of times or occurrences of queries of I, right, in s, right? So let's see an example to get the question more clearly. So we are given the chunks array as a b a minus c. This is a chunks array we are given. So if we make the full string, we get a minus b a, this is our s, right? So this is our complete string, and then we are given the queries a b c a minus b. These are the words that we have to find in the s. So here we see we have a, then we have a valid what we call, we have a valid hyphen, then b. So this is one word, because then we have a separator, space is there, so it acts as a separator. Then we have a, again an hyphen, but this hyphen is invalid, so it will also act as a separator. So first word that we get is this word, then we get a, then again this hyphen is also invalid, then this c is a valid word. So these are the words that we have in string s. Now let's see the queries. First query is a, does a present? Yes, a is present. How many times? One time, so we have returned 1. Does b present? No, b is not present. Count of b is 0, so we have put 0. Does c present? Yes, c. Count of c is 1, so 1. A minus b, count of a minus b is also 1, or a hyphen b is also 1. So this is our output array. We have written the frequency of each word in the query array, right? So this is a question that is asking us. So let's see the constraints. So the total number of chunks that can be present in the question is up to 10 ki power 5, and each chunk can have a length of 10 ki power 5. So the string length can be 10 ki power 5 into 10 ki power 5, which is 10 ki power 10, right? String length. And it is given that chunks of I consist of either lowercase English letters, spaces, or hyphens. These three things are that can be present in the each chunk, right? And the total length of the string in chunks doesn't exceed 10 ki power 5, right? That means here, see, here we are getting 10 ki power 10, but it is given that length of s is not is lesser than or equal to 10 ki power 5 only, right? And the total number of queries can be 10 ki power 5, and each query can have a length of 10 ki power 5. And it is given that the words that are present in query is a valid word, right? It will be a valid word, and the total length of all the strings in queries doesn't exceed 10 ki power 5, right? So these are the constraints. So let's see the approach. So first of all, what we do is, first we concatenate all the chunks. And then form our string s. Then what we'll do is, then we'll scan our string s and extract all the valid words, from words from the string s, right? And now what is a valid word? A valid word is a word that contains lowercase English letters. It can contain a hyphen, but the thing is that the hyphen is valid only when it is surrounded by letters, right? See, a minus b, it is a valid hyphen, but a hyphen b is not a valid hyphen, because none of the hyphen is surrounded by valid letters, right? So here these hyphens are not valid. So every invalid character, so invalid characters can be either spaces or invalid hyphens. They will be acting like a separator, so their role is to separate the words. So after extracting each valid word, what we'll do is, we'll store the frequency of these valid word in a hash map, right? And finally we iterate over the query array, and then we check the frequency of that particular query in the stored in the hash map, right? And then store that. So let's see the code part. So this function bool is letter, it will tell whether our character is a lowercase English letter or not. And then let's see the main function. In the main function, we have taken an empty string s. Then we have built our string s using the chunks, right? And then we have taken an unordered map frequency to store frequency of the valid words present in the string s. Then we iterate our string s and check each character of string s. So if the current character is a letter from a to z, then we skip it. Else, right, then we skip it. Else we have taken a string word, empty word, and then wait, I think, sorry, if the current character is not a letter from a to z, not a letter from a to z, then we skip it, right? Means that's a separator, right? That's a separator. Else what we do is, else we take an empty string word, and then if it is a normal letter, if it is a normal letter that is A to Z, then we append that word, that letter to our word, then we append that letter in our word and increment the pointer. Then we check if hyphen is present. If hyphen is present, then we check whether that hyphen is a valid hyphen or not. Valid hyphen means it should have a left part, it should have a right part. So we check whether word is empty or not. So if word is not empty, then it has a left part, right? Then we check the right part. Right part means that it should have a letter present on the right side of it. So if it has both left part and right part, that means that hyphen is a valid hyphen. So that hyphen is part of a word, so we append that hyphen to the word and increment our uh, pointer. But if it doesn't have both left and right part, if it is not surrounded by left surrounded by letter, then we break, right? That means it is not a valid hyphen. Or the third case can be, we have a separator. If we have a separator, that means we get our word. So now once we get the word, then we increase the frequency of that word in the hash map by 1, right? So after processing and storing the frequency of all the words, then we iterate over all the queries and then find the frequency of those queries in our hash map and store those in the answer, and at the end we will be returning the answer. So I hope I am able to explain you question 2 also properly. So let's start with question 3. Is LeetCode 3927, which is minimize array sum using divisible replacements. So in this question we are given an integer array nums, and we can perform following operations on any number of times, right? So what we have to do is we have to choose two indexes a and b, and then the condition is that nums of a modulo nums of b is equal to 0. That means a is completely divisible by b, right? A is completely divisible by b. Then what we can do is, then we replace nums of a with nums of b, right? Suppose we have a and b, so at a we have present 6, at b we have present 2. Then if we take 6 modulo 2, it will give remainder 0. That means 6 is completely divisible by 2. So now we can replace this 6 by 2, right? And at the end what we have to do is we have to return the minimum possible sum of the array. We have to return the minimum possible sum of the array after performing this operation any number of times, right? So let's see the example to get the question more clearly. So we are given 4 to 8 3. So by which number we can divide 4? So 4 can be divided by 2, as 4 modulo 2 is equal to 0. So we can replace 4 with 2. Is there any smaller number, which by which 2 is divisible? No, none of the numbers. So it will be 2 only. 8, is there any smaller number? Yes, 8 will be divisible by 2, as 8 modulo 2 is equal to 0. So again we can replace 8 by 2. 3 is not divisible by any of the numbers, so this will be our updated array. So the answer is 2 4 6 6 and 3 is 9. So 9 is the sum of the array, right? Now let's see this example. So here we have 6. Is there any other number by which 6 is divisible? No. 12 is divisible by 6, as 12 modulo 6 is 0. So we can replace 12 by 6, and 6 will be 6 only, and then 7 will be 7. So 6 plus 6 plus 7 is 19. So 19 is our answer. So let's move to the constraint part. So the nums dot length, that is total number of elements in the nums array, can be up to 10 to the power 5, means either big of n solution or n log n solution, right? Or we can say n root something solution. And if nums of i is equal to 10 to the power 5, means each element in the nums array can be up to 10 to the power 5. So let's move to the approach part. So what we are allowed to do is, we can take two indexes a and b, and then nums of a, if nums of a modulo nums of b is equal to 0, then we can replace nums of a with nums of b, right? This is what we can do. That means if any number, if a number can become part of an array, if that element divides the number, right? Suppose if 6 is divisible by 2, that means we can replace 6 with 2. This is what we are meant to be said by this line. And what we have to do is we have to minimize the final sum. So for every number x, what we'll do is we will replace it with the smallest array element that divides that particular number, right? For every number x, what we want to replace that particular number x with the smallest array element which divides that x, right? Because if we take smaller numbers, then our sum will be reduced, it will be become lesser, right? And that is our goal. So now our goal is to find the smallest array element that divides every number x, right? For every number x, we have to find the smallest array element which divides that particular number. So what we'll do is first we'll store all the elements that are present in the array in a boolean array for faster checkup whether that. So if you have to check whether any element x is present in array or not, so to check that, we'll store all the numbers that are initially present is in a boolean array, right? And then after storing, what we'll do is for every number x, we will iterate to all divisors up to root x, right? From 2 to root x, we will check all the divisors of x, right? And whenever any number d, or any divisor d divides x, then we check both d and x by d, whether both d and x by d are divisors, right? So suppose 6 divisible by 2, that means both 2 and 6 by 2 is 3, both 2 and 3 are divisors of 6. So if d divides x, then both d and x by d are divisors, right? So we check whether either of d and x by d is present in the array or not. And then if any one of them is present, then we replace the smallest valid divisor with the current number x, right? So let's see an example. So x is equal to 14, so root 14, so we are checking up to root 14, which is 3, which is almost 3. So suppose here almost 3 means we can take 1 and 2 only, but suppose 1 and 2 is not present in the array and 7 is present in the array. So in this case 7 has been missed. That's why we are also checking x by d. So if our d is 2, then x by d will be 14 by 2 is 7. So we are not missing 7 and we have taken 7 as the answer because 7 is present in the array, 2 is not present in the array. If 2 has present, then we could have taken 2 and replaced 14 with 2, right? So that's why if we do not miss these cases, that's why we are taking both d and x by d, right? That's why we are checking both d and x by d. So if we'll see the complexity, so for every number we iterate up to root x times, right? And the total number are n, and let's say in worst case this x will be the maximum number, which is under root m, right? So the time complexity is big of n under root m, where m is the maximum number of the array, right? So let's see the code of it. So we have taken maximum value as 10 to power 5, and then we have taken a boolean array named as exist, which will store all the elements that are present in the array initially and mark them as true, that they are present in the array. Then for every number x, we try to find the smallest array element which divides the number x. So we iterate through all divisors from 1 to under root x, and then if x is divisible by d, that means if the remainder is 0, then we check whether d is present in the array or not. If if D is present in the array or not. If it is present, then the best value will be D, and we stop checking the next divisors. But if it is not present, then we check x by D also. We check x by D also. If x by D also present, if x by D present, then we take that, right? And this way we check all the divisors, and at the end our answer will be, we add the best. Best is like the number that divides x. So we, instead of adding x, we add that value to our answer, and at the end we return our answer. So this is question number 3. So I hope I am able to explain you this also. So let's move to the question number 4. Our question number 4 is lead code 3928, that is minimum cost to buy apples part 2. So in this question we are given an integer n and an integer array prices whose size is also n, where prices of I is the price of apple at the shop I, right? And we are also given a 2D integer array roads, where roads of I contains four things: u, v, cost and tax, which represents a bidirectional road. So this represents a road between u and v, and cost of I is the cost to travel the road without carrying apples. So cost is it's the amount that we have to pay if we have to go from u to v or v to u, but without apples, right? Then the fourth thing is tax. So tax is the multiplier applied to cost when traveling with apples. So without apples we have to pay cost, but if we have to go with apples, then we have to pay cost into tax, right? Cost into tax is the amount that we have to pay if we go with apples, right? So this is given, and what we have to do is, for each shop I, we can either buy apples from that shop locally, right? So that will be prices of I, or we can go from to any other shop from I to j using any number of roads that we want, and then we buy apples from that shop j for prices of j, and then we return to shop I back while carrying apples. What will the cost we will pay while carrying? That will be cost into tax on each road we use for the return trip, right? Suppose if we go j to k and then k to I, then here will be pay cost into tax, here will pay cost into tax, right? So this will be the return cost and this is the going cost, right? So the forward path where you will travel empty and then return path may be different. So forward path cost and backward path, these path, it is not necessary that if we go from I to j, then while coming back we have to follow the same path. It is not necessary, we can take a different path also. And at the end what we have to do is, we have to return an integer array answer whose length is n, and where answer of I is the minimum total cost to buy apples starting from the ith shop, right? So this is the question. So let's see an example to get the question more clearly. So here we are given n is equal to 3, that means we have 3 shops. So price to buy at shop number 0 is 10, shop number 1 is 11, and shop number 2 is 1. Then we are given 3 roads. One road is between 0 to 2 with cost 1 and tax is 3. The other road is between 1 and 2 with cost 3 and tax is 4. And the third road is between 0 and 1 with cost is equal to 5 and tax is equal to 2. And then now what we have to do is, we have to buy apples from each shop. So first we start from shop number 0. So if we buy from shop number 0 directly, then the cost is 10. Then what we can do is, we can go to shop number 2. So if we go, the cost is 1. Then to buy the apple at shop number 2, cost is 1. Then from while coming back, the cost from 0 to 2 tax cost will be cost into tax. So while coming back, the cost will be 3. So 3, 4 and 5, so total cost is 5. So for if we buy at 0, then that cost is 10. If we uh, instead of buying at 0, if you go to 2 and then buy, then the cost is 5, and what we have to do is we have to take the minimum one, so 5 is the minimum one, so 5 is our answer at shop number 0. Then we check at shop number 1. So if we buy directly at shop number 1, then the cost is 11. But what are the other option? We can go to from 1 to 2 and then buy, or we can go from 1 to 0 and then buy. So if we go from 1 to 2, then the cost will be 3 for going, then 1 for buying, and then for coming. So what is the tax between 1 and 2? Tax is 4. Tax is 4. So the coming back cost will be 3 and tax into 4. 3 for the 12. So 12. So 12, 13, 14, 15 and 16. So this cost that is going from 1 to 2 and then coming back, the cost is 16, which is greater than 11. So we ignore this path. Then we could have gone to shop number 0 and then buy it. So if you have taken this path, then for going the cost 5, buying an apple is 15. So already 15 is greater than 11. So we also don't take this path. So we directly buy over here only. So at shop number 1, the minimum cost is 11, and for shop number 2, the minimum cost is 1. So this way we solve this example. So let's see the constraints. So the total number of shops that can be up to 10 ki power 3, like total 10 ki power 3 shops can be there. Prices dot length can be 10 ki power 3 because each shop has its own price. So total prices will be 10 ki power 3, and each shop can has a price up to 10 ki power 9, up to 10 ki power 9. The number of roads can be minimum of n into n minus 1 by 2 or 1000, 2000, like whichever is the minimum value, that will be the number of roads, right? And roads of I will be having 4 things: the 2 nodes between which the road is present, the cost and the tax value, and each node will be either from 0 to n minus 1, and there is no road from the nodes to itself, right? So ui is not equal to vi, cost is 10 ki power 9, tax is up to 100 only, and there are no repeated as is, right? So let's start with the approach. So for every shop I, we have 2 choices: either we can directly buy from that shop, or we can travel to another shop j and then buy apple there and then return back. So the total cost in the second option is cost from I to j, then cost to come back from j to I, and the apple price at j. So this will be the total cost in the second option, right? So while going I to j, will not carrying apples, so that cost will be different, that edge weight will be different, and from j to I back will be carrying apples. So here the cost will be directly cost, here the cost will be cost into tax. So in both the cases the edge weights will be different, right? Edge weights will be different. And so for every pair of shop I comma j, the total cost will be cost from I to j empty handed means without apples, then cost from j to I carrying apples plus the cost of apples at the shop number j. So this will be the total cost. So here it is given empty means minimum cost to travel empty from I to j, and then distance carry of j I, minimum cost to return to I carrying apples, right? And even here it is given that edge weights are positive, so we can use Dijkstra algorithm, right? We can use Dijkstra algorithm to solve this question. So now the question is, what is Dijkstra algorithm? So basically it is an algorithm to find the shortest distance from one source node to all the other nodes in a graph, such that graph do not have any non-negative weights. So basically Dijkstra algorithm is to find the shortest distance from a point A to all the other points in the graph, right? So it will give us distance between AB, AC, AD, like all the pairs. Now the thing is that how Dijkstra algorithm works. So basically what we do is we'll take a priority queue which will store distance comma node, which will store distance comma node. And then so we start with the source node. So we push the sorry. So we push our distance of source node will be 0 and the source node in the priority queue. And we also maintain a distance array, which will store the distance of every node from the source node, so distance of source will be 0, because distance from itself is 0. Then what we'll do is, then we first uh, take the node with the minimum distance from the priority queue. So initially we have only one node, that is 0 comma source. So we have taken the source node. Then what we'll do is, then we update the distance of all the adjacent vertices or all the neighbors of the source node. Then we update the distance of all the neighbors of this source node, that is the current distance plus the edge weights, plus the edge weights, right? And then push those neighbors in the priority queue pq. And then we keep repeating the same thing until our queue do not becomes empty. We keep doing the same thing, right? So this is Dijkstra algorithm. So next part what we do is, so as we have already discussed, so while going empty handed, going empty headed, the edge weight will be cost, but while coming back the edge weight will be cost into tax. So what we do is, we'll build two separate graphs, because the road cost changes depending on whether we are carrying the apples or not. So that's why we will be making two graphs. The first graph will be empty travel graph. Empty travel graph means we do not have apples in our hand, so the edge weight will be directly the cost given to us. That is, if we have the road uv cost tax, then u to v the edge weight will be cost. Similarly, back from v to u the edge weight will be cost, right? Then the second graph that we made is like while we carry the apples. So while carrying apples, the road cost will become cost into tax. So the edge weight of u to v is cost into tax. Similarly, v to u is cost into tax. So now we have two graphs, one graph for forward travel, that is from I to j, and one graph for return travel or backward travel, we can say j to I, right? So now let's see what will be our overall process. So what we'll do is, we'll pick every shop source. Let's say the shop as source. Then we run Dijkstra two times. First Dijkstra on the empty graph. So what it will give us, the empty distance from source to every node x, that is the minimum cost to travel from source to all other nodes x without apples, right? So this is the first Dijkstra. So for first Dijkstra, we'll get our current node I to all the other nodes j. We will get this minimum cost for all other nodes j, right? Then we run the second Dijkstra, that is while we are carrying apples. So what it will give us, the minimum cost to travel from source node to all the other nodes j while carrying apples, right? So suppose our source node is I. So suppose we are going from source to j. Now we have to come back from j to source. So while coming back, we will be using these distances, but the graph is undirected. So here we have calculated source to j. So the distance from source to j or j to source, both will be same, right? That's why we'll be using this carry distance directly in the second thing, right? So suppose we have done the first Dijkstra and the second Dijkstra. Now how we'll be calculating the final answer using this. So for every possible soap, what will be the total cost? Total cost will be the empty distance of soap. That means source to j, carry distance of soap, that is j to source, right? Plus the prices of soap, the prices of soap which we are buying, right? So here soap value will be from 0 to n minus 1, means we'll try with all the nodes, and then we'll take the minimum value over all the soap values, all over all the soaps, right? And then we will compare it with our local, or with by locally means with our source, that is prices of source, right? So we will be looking the code part. So in the code we have declared we'll be using ll instead of long long, and we have declared pair of long long comma int as p, so we'll be using these two, right? And then ll of infinite is equal to 2 की power 18, right? So this is the main this is our main function. So we have taken two graphs, one is without carrying apples, the other one is carrying apples, right? And then see, without carrying apples, the cost will be directly cost, and with carrying apples the cost will be cost into tax, right? So here, after in this part we build the both the graphs, right? Without apples, and with apples, right? Then next what we'll do is we have taken the vector to store the answers, and then we have taken two distance arrays, one we use in Digextra for without apples, the other we use while carrying apples. Then we take every node as a source node, or we can say we'll see for every show from 0 to n minus 1, right? Then we fill our array with infinite. Initially the distance from source node to other nodes is infinite, right? Then we have taken our priority queue, we have declared our priority queue, and then distance of source with itself is 0, and we have pushed the source node in the priority queue. Then this part is the Digextra part. So in Digextra, until our queue do not become empty, we take the top node, that is the node with minimum distance, right? We take the top node and then remove that node from the queue, and if the distance of that node is greater than if d is greater than empty distance of u, then we skip it. That means we have already taken this node, right? Then we skip it. Else what we'll do is else we update all its neighboring nodes, all the neighboring nodes of the node u, right? If their distance is greater than current distance, that is distance of node u plus the edge weight, then we update the distance to the current distance, and then push that node in the priority queue, right? So this one is without carrying apples. Then we do the same thing, then we apply Digextra for the carrying apples part, right? We apply Digextra for carrying part apples, right? So up to after this point we have distance from source to all other nodes without apple, then from source to all other nodes with apples. So up to here we get these two things. Now the next thing is we have to find the best soap. So our current soap, that is if we buy locally, then the prices will be prices of source. Else what we do is we check all the soaps, that is from, if we go from source to soap. So first thing, empty distance of soap is equal to infinite, or carry distance of soap is equal to infinite. That means we are unable to reach that soap, from the source, so we skip it. That means we have continued. Else what we do is, else we take empty distance of soap, that is, uh, if we go empty handed from source to soap, that distance we have taken, plus the carry distance of the soap, plus the prices of that soap, that if you buy apples at their soap, that we have taken. So that will give us the total cost to buy at that soap. And at what we'll do is, we'll take the minimum of the all the soaps, right? So minimum is stored in the best, so we store answer of source is equal to best, right? And at the end we return our answer. So I hope I am able to explain you all the four solutions properly. So if you like the video, please make sure to like, share and subscribe the channel. Thank you.